Welcome to another episode of In the Nude. Today, let's talk about not your fault, but it is your problem. I was reading a book about ADHD, autism, all of that, and it said this line of "It is not your fault, but it is your problem," and it hit me so hard because it's of course applying it to ADHD and to disabilities and things like that, but it also works for going through trauma. It is not your fault, but it is your problem. Like in the context they gave was it's not your fault that you have ADHD. It's not your fault that you struggle to keep up with your homework and that you lost your homework, but it is your problem to solve that your homework is lost and you may have to do it again, or your homework is lost and you get a bad grade. That's your problem. And that context, that viewpoint, that thought process of it is not your fault, but it is your problem is what I want to get into today because it's application to if you wrap your head around it and you march through life, it isn't a burden, it's a gift. What I mean by that is it's not your fault that you were hurt the ways that you were. It's not your fault that you came into that family or you came into that relationship. It is not your fault how you have dealt with and coped with those things. It is not your fault the scars and tears and hurts that you carry with you. It's not your fault, but it is your problem if you want things to change. You get to take ownership of that. You don't have to own the guilt of what happened, but you own the empowerment of moving forward. It is not my fault that I got abused. It's not my fault that I got touched in ways I didn't want to be touched. But it is my problem and how I'm going to react, respond, and move forward with it. It's my problem if I allow it to overtake me, or it is my problem if I decide to overcome it. It is my gift, it is my freedom, it is my power when I take it as my problem. And that truth, while it was in the book about something else, is so resonatingly true for me in my healing journey. There's this embitterment, this frustration, this shame that exists around abuse, at least for me. I have this bitterness that I was put in these situations and born into these situations that I had no choice in and got hurt from. And then I have shame for situations where I feel like maybe if I had just done this better or more perfect, or if I had said no more clearly, or it is not your fault, but it is our problem how we face it. If I allowed myself that day when I saw myself the end, where I saw myself becoming that vacant mother because of all the trauma that had happened to me, and then was not engaging with my kids or deciding to find a way not to drown. It is my problem that if I had left it there and stayed there, that I would be giving that to my kids. Instead, I took it on as my problem. It didn't matter what happened. It didn't matter that I didn't receive it. I didn't pull that stuff and be like, yay, it happened. I just accepted what was. It happened. I don't have to like it. I don't have to think it's mine. I don't have to process the reasons it happened. I just have to accept that it is. It's like you wanted milk, someone gives you chocolate milk. No matter what you want to happen after that, the first step is accepting the fact that's not the milk you wanted. It's chocolate milk, right? That same way, if we accept what is in front of us and see it as, okay, these are the tools that I have, even if they're the tools I wanted, they're the tools that I have to move forward. That owning of it's my problem isn't weight. We can hear it as its weight, but it is actually the freedom to say, I get to choose. I get to own it. It is on me and I get to figure it out. I get to decide how I fall or fail or fly in this process. And the more I have owned the idea of I don't have to think about why it happened or whose fault it is or feel shame about any of those things. And I just focus on where I am right now and where I want to go and a tiny step I can make right now to move towards it. I am a person who struggles with perfectionism because all of my life I have tried to achieve my worth by getting junk done. And my drive towards perfectionism is what kept me safe in a lot of ways. But that towards perfectionism is also a coping mechanism that is no longer serving me and it is detriment to me. Now that I am in a safe environment where I'm just me, I get to choose how I solve that problem of me having had that coping mechanism. I am so grateful for all the things that I did in the past that helped me survive till now. But that doesn't mean the ways that I survived are still serving me today. So I have to choose with my problem of what is right now, my struggle with perfectionism, how I'm going to move forward, how I'm going to face it. And that process for me is going to look different than somebody else who's going through that same process of perfectionism or something else. It's about seeing what is, owning the fact that I am my ride or die. You are your ride or die. It is not our fault, but it is our problem. And in our problem is also our solution with my perfectionism. The problem isn't that I want to do well. It's the fact that I don't give myself any grace for failure. The solution to that problem is learning how to give myself grace. That's what I mean by the solution is in the problem. When you look at the key components of whatever your big problem is right now, that thing you're facing and you feel like is you hate about yourself or you hate about the situation, whether you hate it or you love it or otherwise, it doesn't matter because it is. But that problem that you see, somewhere in there is the solution. When we look at the root of what the heart of the problem is, that's where we get our solution. Like I said with my perfectionism, it's the fact that I have to be perfect. It's a combination of my not giving grace to myself to be a human, but also my striving through actions to gain worth. That never works. Worth is not something that you gain by action. That's self-confidence. You can gain self-confidence in how to do an action. You get self-confidence of riding a bike by riding the bike. Self-worth is separate. You don't get that from an action. It cannot be given or taken away. It is innate. It is a part of breathing. It is a part of the miracle that you are existing. That is worth. And when we try to achieve our worth through an action, it's never going to work out well. So it is a combination of me not giving myself grace and understanding and compassion to be a human, and also not identifying the truth of my value. There is power in the willingness and openness to say, it's not my fault, but it is my problem. And with owning that, it's not a weight that we're saddled with. It is a lessening of the shackles of being held down to the anchor of saying somebody else has to solve it. You've seen what other people do in your life. Not saying all people, but you've seen what happens when other people get involved in your life. This is the freedom to unshackle yourself, to decide that it's going to be a bumpy and crazy journey, but it's going to be a journey that you own to get to a life that you want to have. But the first step of being able to do those things is being willing to look in the mirror, see what's there, and own. It's not my fault, but it is my problem. If you need help dialing in on what your biggest problem is and therefore your solution, I would love to help. You can find me a lot of different places, message me, comment, and I will love to have a little brainstorm and help you see what that is. We are in this together. It is a journey. It is a process of learning how to care for, love, give grace, understanding, acceptance, thrive. It's messy, like anything we're learning, but you're worth it.